and welcome to Giant Mess, a sloppy sports and entertainment talk show about the New York Giants, the Mets, movies, TV, comedy, and a whole lot more. It's hosted by a giant mess. That's me, the Real Cinch Neal Lynch. I'm a plump and furry Irish-Italian-American who graduated from a Catholic high school but isn't Catholic. I went to a college known for producing doctors and lacrosse players, and then I became neither. Instead, I'm a loser, baby, so why don't you kill me? A blogger, vlogger, podcaster, writer, editor, blah, 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 blah. I'm a bunch of shit, okay? You can leave a voicemail if you want. The number is 862-BIT-1986. You can call and leave a voicemail, or you can just text that number. You can just text it. Pick up the phone and text it. You can subscribe to Giant Mess on YouTube. It's youtube.com/Neal Lynch. You can go to my blog, neallynch.com. Go to facebook.com/Giant Mess. I'm Real Cinch on Twitter and Instagram. And you can subscribe to me wherever you listen to your podcast, whether it be on Apple, Spotify, Google, Audio Mac. There's a whole bunch out there. But pick one. I'm there. On today's episode, it'll be a doozy. We're going to recap the past week in Mets baseball. There are 4 player moves that Steve Cohen should make when he becomes Mets owner, according to SNY. There are also a bunch of young arms the Mets should use in the starting rotation, according to Amazing Avenue of SB Nation. We're going to recap the Steelers-Giants game, and we'll preview the Giants-Bears game. All that and more right now. So let's get into it. We'll talk about life for a little bit. You know, life, that little thing called life. I ordered takeout from Thatcher McGee's, this Irish pub down the street. You got to tell me if this is a weird order, okay? Got Reuben rolls. If you don't know what Reuben rolls are, you are missing the high life, my man. Think of egg rolls. You've probably seen cheesesteak rolls, like cheesesteak and an egg roll. This is a Reuben in an egg roll. It is delicious. It comes with Russian dressing, I think. You dip it, you lick it, you skip it, you sip it. So good. So that's the app. It's the appetizer. If you think that's the whole meal, you don't know the Real Cinch Neal Lynch. I also ordered a fish sandwich. Now, right off the bat, you got to say to yourself, wow, fish sandwich, gross. I think most people would say that. That's not the go-to order for a lot of people. But you know what? I understand it's a pub. I understand the go-to order at a pub is usually a burger. But it's out of principle that I don't order burgers at pubs anymore because they're overpriced, okay? Now, you tell me something special about that burger. Maybe I'm willing to pay that price that you've jacked up out of your minds. Kobe beef burger, okay. Wagyu beef, if that's possible, in a burger, yeah, okay. Ostrich burger, bison burger, yeah, you're talking my language. If you're giving me a ground beef burger, I don't even know what kind of grade beef it is. I don't know where it came from, and you're going to charge me $13, $14 for it, pass. And I wanted a little something different, okay? I got the Reuben meats going. But I wanted something different. I don't want to double down on that kind of meat. So I want the fish sandwich. And beer battered cod, that just sounds great. That just sounds delish. So I went with the beer battered cod fish sandwich. Threw some cheese on it. Threw some D's on it. And I wanted avocado on it. they don't have avocado. So they just gave me a side of guac. I'm not arguing, as long as you're not surcharging me. And Irish curry fries, folks. Irish curry fries, ever heard? I haven't. I didn't even know that Irish and curry belong next to each other like that. I didn't know that was a thing. Indian curry, hell yeah, I get it. From here to kingdom come. Chicken curry when you order Chinese, I got it. India, China, Asia, they have cornered the market on curry. When you talk about Ireland, I don't think curry is like you mispronounced Carrie's name. You got drunk and you're trying to call out for Carrie and you go, hey, curry. But it was amazing. It was hit the spot, hit my G spot real hard. And I quivered and I shivered. Shiver me timbers. That's how good that Irish curry fries were. And I actually split it in half and I saved it for the next day. That's how good it was. Sometimes it's so good you just scarf it down and you feel bad afterwards. It's like, I want to savor this over the course of 2 full days. So that was amazing. We ended up watching an episode of Succession. We're binging season 1. So far, so good, even though I don't like pretty much any of the characters. They're all mostly detestable and not likable. Well, Kendall, they started off with Kendall being complete over the top doucher. And he's kind of won me back a little bit with what he's willing to do, his savviness, how he handles his biz, how he's grown so fast in the first 6. We're on episode 6, or we just finished episode 6. And, his ability, even though he still can be like this timid, scared little boy in some respects, he's making some power moves. He's trying to make his move, and got to give him credit for that. But that episode 6, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't watched Succession yet. I think they're in season 2 or 3, maybe even 4 now. I don't even know. But that episode 6 is a heartbreaker. Maybe I just gave it away. Sorry. It's a gut-wrenching experience, to say the least. Roman, good old Rory Culkin, Macaulay Culkin's little brother. He is just a sociopath, quite possibly a psychopath. When we first started watching, we just assumed he was gay. And then you find out that maybe he's not. Maybe he's got this girlfriend he gets kinky with, but they don't have sex. They do other kinky stuff. So is it like he's closeted gay, but he's rich, so the girl likes that? I don't know. We'll find out. So him playing Roman, he is just the ultimate asshole. Every time he's on screen, it's like you want to punch him in the face, but you also can't wait to hear what's about to come out of his mouth. It's like, you speak first, then comes the fist. So really, and Brian Cox is Brian Cox. I mean, you can't go wrong with Brian Cox. I've always liked him. So, and Shiv, who is Sarah Snook, I believe her name is in IRL. She gives a pretty good performance. My wife feels like they haven't done her justice yet so far through 6 episodes of season 1, that she's about to have her her rise to prominence, if you will. I'm officially hooked. The only issue is that it's a kind of a pain in the scrot, because I got HBO Max through work, but you cannot watch HBO Max. It doesn't have its own dedicated app on the LG smart TV that we have from friggin' 4 years ago. So you can't get that app like it has every other app, Disney Plus, Hulu, Amazon, Netflix, YouTube TV, just no HBO Max. You look for it on the Apple TV we have is an older generation Apple TV, so we can't get it on there. It's not available on Roku. And, you wonder why there were so many moves at the top with Warner Media. It's like, and they keep saying, it wasn't because of HBO Max. It's like, well, it was kind of. I mean, you didn't hit your numbers because you didn't do your due diligence and get it everywhere it needs to be to hit that number that you were aiming for. So basically what we had to do is we have to connect an HDMI cable from my laptop. I mean, this is like some 2009 shit. I mean, this is literally like, this was me, 2009 to 2012, 13, 14 was me, I can get NFL networks for free, but it's not available in Myrtle Beach on the cable system. So I got to like load it up on my laptop, HDMI cable from the laptop to the TV. So old school, but yeah, we got it done. It's just, it's a bit annoying. It's a little annoying. So, but the way that episode 6 ends, season 1, Succession. And then the wife took care of the babes, put down the baby, and I ended up watching another episode of The Boys. This is episode 4. So they released the first 3 episodes of The Boys September 3rd or 4th. So it was the Friday before Labor Day weekend. I was down I was not here. I'm not allowed to disclose where I was. Confidential. It's classified. but I wasn't allowed to watch it where it was. So I had to wait till I came back and I binged all 3 and whew, baby. Picked up right where it left off. I mean, still awesome. I almost think I kind of like the going week by week strategy because you do want it to last a little bit longer. I do like that I got to binge 3 episodes. I think maybe they could even get away with just releasing the first 2 episodes next time, but I'm completely fine with 3. Of course, I would love to watch all 10 right in a row, but then you kind of shoot your wad and blow your load, and then you're left there in shame. Shame. So I get it. You know, you want to make it last. Throw on an extended pleasure and make it last. I'll make it last. I'll make it last. Bang, bang. Yeah. So excited for episode 5 tomorrow night. I don't know why I thought this, but I thought episode 4 was one of the best episodes. The only criticism I had was the interaction, like the whole first season. Billy the Butcher thinks that his wife has been killed, so he's trying to get revenge on Homelander. Spoiler for anyone who hasn't seen season 1 of The Boys, maybe. So then season 2 comes along and something happens. I'm speaking like vagaries. Is that what it is? Vacancies. So season 2 comes along and then things happen and it's so like fleeting. Okay. I'll leave it at that. But I do think episode 4, season 2, one of the best episodes that they've had. Saturday, we went for part 2 of Brielle's birthday extravaganza to my mother-in-law's in Bucks County, PA, home of M. Night. Shamalama Dang Dong. It turned out to be a 2-hour drive. My mother-in-law and Poppy, Brielle's step-grandfather, I guess you would say, got her a miniature ball pit, which she completely, literally flipped it on its head. As soon as she saw it, we're like, go in. She just like grabbed it and just flipped it over. Balls all came out. She also got like a bungee cord pogo stick, which has rolled ankle just written all over it. It's just like it looks like a block of foam with a bungee attached to it and a handle. And like my wife is showing it to her, Brielle, like how to do it. And Bree's like tries to get on it. And all I'm just picturing is like, that's a broken ankle. That's a broken ankle. Luckily she hasn't like really gotten it down pat yet, but that's definitely a trip to the ER. Thanks for the medical bill. But the big gift was the remote control car, RC car, which I'm completely fine with. Top speed is like 5 miles per hour. So it's not dangerous, unless you're really going off-roading, which who knows, maybe she catches an attitude and decides to like hit up some rocky terrain. But, I feel fairly safe with her, doing it. And the problem is that the car, it's a great present. It's amazing. The problem is the car has a brand. Okay. It's not just a plastic car with no logo or no model associated with it. It's a branded car. And it's a Land Rover Discovery. Oh my goodness gracious. I mean, talk about setting expectations way too high. Way too high for this girl. She's and she's so young that she's going to repeatedly see this thing and make the connection, Land Rover Discovery, Land Rover Discovery, Land Rover Discovery, so that when she is old enough to get her permit and we might have to buy her a car, that's the first 3 words she's going to say, Land Rover Discovery. And at that point, I'm assuming cars that we're talking about like 14 years from now, the cars will probably be $500,000 to $2.5 million. That's the range that I think a normal Land Rover Discovery will be. Fantastic. Of course, my ultimate hope is that we have self-driving cars and maybe Land Rover tanks. Not tanks, not a tank, not a rolling tank with like artillery, but like it just as a company, it tanks. And then it goes extinct and defunct. And then it's that sweet spot where it's like they're no longer in production, but older ones still exist. So we can just buy it like on the cheap, but then, it'll increase in value because it's like the DeLorean. If you were to buy a DeLorean now, people would charge like $200,000 probably, even though it's like so old. Anywho. So it's funny because like I've said over and over on this show, like my daughter you can't tell she's having fun. She's having a goddamn blast inside. She just doesn't know how to externalize that. Like very rarely will she laugh and like giggle and cry out in joy, especially when she's around. I mean, with us maybe, but like around strangers, like at a Chuck E. Cheese or like a arcade. No way. So when she gets in this car and they're driving around, she's completely like stone faced, just like resting bitch face. And people are like, oh, like, is she 2 or is she 92? Like, why is she not responding to any of this? And we're like, no, we assure you, she loves it. Yeah, so it was the birthday. And then we decided to go to a bar. Caution, wind, have you guys met? As you know, I'm riddled with anxiety about coronavirus and COVID-19. It has subsided somewhat in the past month or so. And I have not gone like to dine or to a bar inside. I've been like outdoor seating at a bar or restaurant. I'm completely fine with that. But going inside and like for a long period of time and you can take off your mask at the booth. Oh, great. Well, then how does coronavirus know that this seat is taken? Like this booth, you're not allowed in this booth, coronavirus. How do you know that? So I was a little skeptical, but I didn't freak out. And it was fine. The booths had huge plexiglass dividers in between, so I felt a little bit better there. Obviously the wait staff, the servers are wearing masks, so that's okay. We ended up, but the issue is we already my mother-in-law and her husband just go to the nine. I mean, like, hello, a fucking Land Rover Discovery remote control car. These people go above and beyond what is expected. Like, you don't need to do that. So the food situation is like, they always just over serve food. And I didn't think we were going to go out to get drinks where you have to order food. So I like stuffed my gullet at the house. And then we had to go to the bar and we had to order food at the bar. And it's just like, I can't put another piece of anything in my mouth other than liquid. But we ended up getting buffalo cauliflower and a spinach, bacon, and pear pomegranate flatbread. I mean, oh my God. Do we know how to order or do we know how to order? That's a good order right there. And I ended up like a fucking hog. I ended up crushing a lot of the cauliflower and a lot of the flatbread. And then I won't say that this happened to me, but let's just say I'll pose a question to you. What are your thoughts on pooping in a bar? I know they brought it up on Barstool Chicago today. It reminded me of what that happening from time to time. And it's not ideal by any means, but when the feeling hits you, you got to do what you got to do. And it's never a pleasurable experience. You never go into like a bar bathroom and expect, the lap of luxury when you're sitting upon the porcelain throne. So, but all I know is I felt better towards the end of the night than I did going into that bar. I won't say what happened, but you know what happened. And then Sunday we make the trip back to back home for week 1 of NFL football. I went 3-9-1 on my bets. Yikes. I had the Colts in a couple survivor pools, and and it's the earliest exit I've ever had. Week 1 and done. And that's the earliest. And I blame everyone who said that the Jaguars are tanking this year. I blame Philip Rivers for making me believe that the Colts are going to be better than they've been in the past with Jacoby Brissett. I mean, I thought we were all in agreement that the Jaguars were intentionally tanking. I thought that was the deal, that they were going to tank for Trevor Lawrence. Like, was that not, even though they have Gardner Minshew, who seems like a quality dude, upstanding guy? Why? Oh, why? are they not tanking like they were supposed to? Instead, the Colts lose. Colts put up 445 yards of total offense and didn't punt once and lost. Okay. And then Monday, the Giants had their game against the Steelers on Monday night, and I'm working from home, and I'm listening to Barstool Radio, and they're talking about, is it acceptable for a grown man to wear a jersey? And I look down, and I'm wearing my Eli Manning jersey. And I have a buddy, he's a Pats fan, and he says that you are lesser than if you are a grown man wearing another grown man's jersey with another grown man's name on that jersey. You are not, that's unacceptable. And that you were a child if you do that. And I have no arguments. I am a child. I have the maturity of a child. I have the social development of a child. I've come to terms with that. Why can't I just wear a jersey with someone else's name on it? Why? Why is that unacceptable? I mean, and the more they talked about it, it felt like they were personally attacking me. They were saying, it's, I guess if a grown man were to wear a jersey to the game, that's okay. But if you are like 40, you can't wear a jersey to the game. And you can't, especially at the game, if you do go to the game and you wear a jersey, you can't tailgate hard. And it's like, whoa. Now you're telling me I can't tailgate hard? What is there to do? What am I supposed to do? Talk about the stock market? Come on, guy. I'm going to get after it at a tailgate. Okay, maybe not the same amount of after it as I did when I was 25. But age is a number, folks. And like, I can't party now. That's it. You hit 40 and you're donezo. You can't enjoy life. So that was a shot to the gut, a shot to the heart, and you're to blame. I mean, you give love a bad name. And then they're saying, and like if you, and then they come around on that and they were saying, yeah, but if you're going to pick up your kid from school in a jersey, and I was just like, I am like literally minutes away from hopping in my car and going to pick up my daughter from daycare in an Eli fucking Manning jersey. What is happening right now? It's like, where's the camera? Where's the live feed on me? And I think today they were talking about grown men wearing sweatpants out in public. That's not allowed now. We're in a fucking global pandemic, folks. I can't wear goddamn sweatpants now. What? You want me to wear a suit at home? A tux? I mean, can I not? I mean, I've already said stress, anxiety, fear, all-time highs. We got fucking wildfires, hurricanes, viruses, voter fraud. Like, we've got soup to nuts. We've got it. You name it, we've got it. Murder hornets. Like, it's everywhere and it's happening all at once. You're telling me that I can't reduce my level. I can't increase my own level of comfort via athleisure. GFY, dude. G and then F and then Y. Come on. Let me be me. Can I just be me? Be yourself. Oh, yeah? Well, this is me. If you're wondering what I'm drinking, it's a red wine mixed with a White Claw. That's where we are at right now. It's like a red wine spritzer on steroids. So that's life. Let's talk Mets. What a week. Yet another week where we see our team go all out, put up a ton of runs one game where we think, how do we ever lose? We're a machine. We're unstoppable. We're a freight train from hell. So much for this we can't score with runners in scoring position fiasco. We got the best pitcher in the game. He's going to win his third Cy Young in a row. And then we lose 2 straight. I don't know. How is this the same team? Like, I don't understand. So yeah, on 9/11, we were able to wear our first responders hats. You probably saw P. Alonso in his FDNY hat or something like that. NYPD hats. So that was good to honor those who we lost on that day with a big time major win that we needed. And it's it's amazing that we're starting to give DeGrom run support now, like not just a little run support, like a lot of run support. You know, it used to be we give him one run. Now we're tacking on an additional number after that one, which is just fantastic. And then the next day, a winnable game. We have Lugo on the bump. Robbie Ray is throwing for the Jays. And he got some help defensively. Gurriel with an outstanding catch in the outfield. And I'm watching the highlights, and Lugo is just giving up squibblers and dribblers and bloops and all these hits that, as a pitcher, I can't tell you how much that affects me. Secondhand. I mean, firsthand, it makes you want to rip off your jaw. It just makes you want to burst into flames. Shout out, pardon me, Incubus. So I can only imagine how Lugo feels knowing that when that happens, you are getting the best of the hitter. The hitter didn't get it fully or at all, but barely hit it, and it's a hit and it's scoring runs, and that's just what ended up happening that Saturday. Of course, the Mets have a chance to win it. Well, before that, Miguel Castro looked good, so maybe he listened to the pod or watched the show, and he said to himself, you know what? I'm going to prove this fat asshole wrong. So kudos to Miguel Castro for getting on track. Wilson Ramos. So, the Water Buffalo had a day in Buffalo on 9/11. He went off. Big time game. And then he comes back, and he's in a big spot. Runner on, grounds into yet another double play. The dude is a double play factory. He just can't not hit into double plays. And then Rosario ends up striking out, but he gets on base, reaches base because it gets away from the catcher, and then gets picked off at first. Cannot end the game. 3-2, runner on first, cannot end the game getting picked off. You just can't. And that's been kind of the theme of this past week, is like the base running blunders and gaffes have just been true to roof. Just unreal how bad we've become at base running. And I'm very much looking forward to when the season ends and we look back and we get to see at how many runs those fucking base running errors cost us. Because it seems like it's happening every game, sometimes now multiple times a game, ending like what could potentially be big scoring innings. So Sunday the 13th, we lost again. We went up against Ryu, who's having himself a year. Had himself a year last year. Maybe you're a Dodgers fan and you thought he should have won your Cy Young over DeGrom because he had, I think, maybe a lower ERA. He definitely beat out DeGrom in one of the categories. And he looked good. I mean, I watched a lot of the highlights, and he was just painting the K zone. Just dotting that thin white line, that box. So, yeah, I mean, Mets didn't have a ton of success against him, but again, it was close. The box, we look at the final score, you're like, we got blown out, but it was close. It was close. And then bases were loaded. Brock comes in, couldn't hold, didn't get a call. And you look at it and it's like, yeah, that's a strike. I mean, if we're going to get like really picky now. So I thought it was a strike 3. Instead, it's a walk, bases loaded. And then Hughes comes in and it goes all to shit. And I think it was 2-1 at the time. And then they went up something like 6-1, 7-1, and then we tried to claw back and couldn't. But so we lose 2 out of 3 of the Jays. We're off on Monday, and then we lose on Tuesday night. Not as bad, I gotta give props to Porcello. Considering how his season has gone, this was kind of one of his better efforts. He gave up 4 in I think 5 innings. Of course, the killer was the 2-run shot to Gregorius, which ended up chasing him out of the game. I hate Jake Arrieta. I mean, there's no bones about it. I just think he sucks. He's just and he's gotten the best of us. past 2 times. So it's such a hard-o, and I just want him to suffer. Is that so much to ask? Bases loaded in the second or third. Alonso flies out. Pete, we need you right there. We need you to do something other than get out. And Arrieta ended up leaving the game with a hamstring issue. So who knows how long that keeps him out. We'll get to another problematic hamstring in a little bit. But if that, rules him out of one game, I'll take it. Because that could be one more loss for the Phils. Not that it matters at this point. I mean, who knows how this game turns out? I mean, right now they're in the top of the 6th. It's 6-4 Phillies. We got 2 runners on, 1 out, 2-2 count to Guillorme. And he hits a ball to left field. No, caught. So, 9:15. Another base running error. Oh, so bases low in the 6th. Wilson Ramos hits into a double play. Oh, shocker. And then we had runners on the 8th, and I think Jimenez hits a dribbler down the 3rd where they had the shift, so there's no one at 3rd. So Segura comes over from the shortstop position. For some reason, Dom Smith is going to score. So at least we get another run. We're getting closer. It would be 4-2. Instead, McNeil runs when he didn't have to, and he gets tagged out by Segura, ending over. No run. It's just a lot of mental errors, even in the game on the 16th, yesterday, Wednesday. I mean, this was, I for some reason, I always tune in late to these games because 7:00 is not a great time for us in this household. It's like, that's bath time, that's bedtime, that's focus on the baby family time. So I try to watch it on the phone or the iPad or wherever I can get any kind of signal. I will try and, tune in, but most times I'll miss it. And so I knew DeGrom was pitching. And so it was weird to see a crooked number after in the second or third inning, the second inning. There's a crooked number in DeGrom's. What is going on? Oh, Nimmo hits a shot to the right center. Oh, that's going to score 1. That's got to score 2. Oh, no. Hammy. Triple for Nimmo. Game tied. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, maybe they got a little magic left in them, folks. So, you figure, DeGrom exits after 2 innings. And I'm thinking to myself, so our best chance at winning, which is not great because we don't win for DeGrom, goes down the shitter because he's got something. And everyone, the Twitter feed went just ape shit bananas. Just could not, worst case scenario, not only is the season over, life is over. What is going on with DeGrom? Then it comes out that he had a right hamstring spasm, which is interesting because I've had spasms, but I guess I've never had serious spasms. So I'm not one to talk. But you hear spasm and you think, it's a little twinge, little tweak. How bad could that be? But bad enough that he didn't want to risk it for the biscuit. So I get it, But the 3 earned runs definitely pump up his ERA, I think above 2, which that he will need to come back in this next 2 starts at least and get back to normal, or his normal, in order to be to still have a shot at the Cy Young. Huge win though on the 16th. Big time win. Really impressed with everyone's fight and grit. Never say die attitude, and just super happy with what they were able to accomplish, considering their ace only gave them 2. You got to be proud of the bullpen as well. Coming in and was it Erasmo Ramirez again? This guy is he deserves an award, a medal or something. And I know he's not, making the sorority girls wet by any means. He's not, the main attraction. He's not sugar and spice and everything nice. He's not fireworks on the 4th of July, but he gets motherfucking job done, folks. And that's all we asked for. That's all we asked for. And that's what I talked about. I talked about this in a previous episode. You can roll out all these motherfuckers that can flamethrowers that can just dial it up to 100 a million times a game, but get, the ball gets knocked out of the park all the time. Ramirez comes in. He's just location. Hey, here's a ball. You may hit it. It will not land safely. It's going to go to someone I trust with a glove. So super pumped about Erasmo Ramirez. I think that he's been kind of as far as, our pitching has just been, this is the worst pitching we've had in a long time. And the luck that we've had, the misfortunes we've had, the black cloud that we've had over this pitching staff, both in the bullpen and starters, and Erasmo Ramirez is that beacon of light coming through and doing well. And he's doing it again tonight on the 17th. We were down 6-3 when I tuned in, which is virtual insanity because it was the third inning. And I'm like, wait a second, we had DeGrom last night, so that means we should have Lugo tonight. What the actual F? Lugo got lit up? And of course, I look at the box score, inning and 2/3, 4 home runs, I think 2 of which were to Bryce Harper, that little bitch, and 6 earned runs on 8 hits. I mean, whoa, dude. Seth Lugo, did he not get enough sleep? And of course, Jimenez is gripping his hamstring. Damn it. That's no bueno. So we're just imploding. I mean, luckily DeGrom is not as serious as it is. Who knows if Lugo now has some kind of ailment? But I was watching some of the highlights, the home runs that he did give up, and they're all fastballs up in the zone, letter high, above the belt, right in the wheelhouse. So he's just got to, maybe it's just one of those instances where it's an off day. There's not much you can do about it. But we need him if we're going to actually make a run at this thing. So the other news is I saw that we have fucking 11 pitchers, relief pitchers. Justin Wilson, Dylan Betances, Darius Familia, Edwin Diaz, Chasen Shreve, Miguel Castro, Brad Brock, Jared Hughes, Erasmo Ramirez, Waka. Oh, so Waka. That's what I wanted to talk about. Waka was the guy that came in, not Ramirez. Although Ramirez is still, that doesn't take away what Ramirez has done in his relief efforts. The ability that he usually comes in, he's kind of like a long reliever. He comes in when our starter shits the bed. And he's done a fantastic job coming in long relief. But when DeGrom went out, Waka came in. So Waka is now in the bullpen. And he gave us a pretty solid effort. I think he might have given up a home run, maybe another run, but he didn't let the game get away from him. And he kept the score manageable for our offense to at least have an opportunity to come back. Matz is no longer in the bullpen. It looks like he's going to start tomorrow. Maybe this time off has given him some, the ability to reflect on his journey and do some meditation and really figure out what is bothering him and how to get back to his top form. So, I mean, if we can pull this game out, it's hard. I'm trying to temper my hopes and expectations because it's like so many things have to come together with so much against us. I mean, the odds are stacked against us. And it's going to take a miracle, but miracles are kind of our forte, are they not? So we just got to figure something out about this pitching. I mean, if Peterson can shake off, he had a pretty decent game against the Blue Jays last go round, last time out. So if he can continue that kind of effort, 5 innings, 1-2 runs. Okay, DeGrom, the hamstring doesn't become a bigger issue. Okay, Lugo just shakes it off and comes back to where he can be. Okay, and if Matz can be the guy, then I don't know. We're asking a lot. I don't know. We're asking a lot. But stranger things, I say it all the time, stranger things have happened. And yeah, that's that. I guess we'll talk about this. The young arms, this is from SB Nation, Amazing Avenue. They talked about the young arms the Mets should use in the starting rotation. And I'm not thrilled about any of these options, to be honest. Franklin Kilome, 25 years old. We've already seen him a bunch this year. His ERA is over 7. We got him in the Asdrubal Cabrera trade at the 2018 trade deadline. He's made just 8 starts after the trade before he underwent Tommy John surgery, and that sidelined him all of last season. I think he has 2 or 3 saves maybe for us, or a save. So, I'm not doing any cartwheels about this dude. And then Thomas Szapucki. He's 24-year-old lefty who pitched a game at AA. He's their 9th top prospect, selected in the 4th round of the 2015 draft. He's been plagued by injuries throughout his career. I said that's not a winning, and that's not a ringing endorsement. And then Harold Gonzalez, a 25-year-old righty who's thrown 26 games at the AA level and 9 games at the AAA level, 3.6 ERA, but averages like less than 6 innings per start. I said this last week. It's at the point now where, I don't know, you just got to, maybe you do bring a young arm up and the guy is so hype and amped that he, he's so excited to be at in the show that he just overperforms and overdelivers, which would, when they brought up DeGrom, no one had really high expectations for him. He was something like I think only Frank Viola was talking about him. It was like, hey, you guys are talking about Harvey and Wheeler and blah, blah, but there's this kid, Jake DeGrom, that you should check out and consider. We're like, yeah, right. What? He's like the 67th prospect. What are you talking about? So, but the one arm that, so it's, young arms for the starting rotation, but there is a young arm that I think that they might have already made an appearance with us, but probably not. That we should consider for the bullpen. And that's Riley Gilliam. He's a 5th round selection in the 2018 draft. He reached AAA in his first full season. He's like a 7th or 8th inning guy. And, I'll finish with this. Maybe the statisticians and the sabermetrics and the numbers guys were right about Edwin Diaz. He had a big save last night. We've seen the numbers. Is it time to just say, fuck it, and let's trust him with the closer role, ride or die? Just roll with it. Just say, if we're going to win, we're going to need him to close games, and he's going to have to do it. And if he doesn't, so be it. But if he does, look out. So, okay, I guess he's your closer now. Justin Wilson is the guys that were giving us such great innings before, such great appearances before, Brock, Hughes, they're not getting it done. Wilson, not really getting it done, getting knocked around. Erasmo Ramirez is doing the job. Shreve is in now. He's been doing fairly well so far. Gets a nice little strikeout on the former MVP Andrew McCutch in. So, and Betances, I don't know what his deal is now. Familia, who knows? Castro's coming around, so that's good. So maybe it's just a case of everyone just fucking bearing down and being like, guys, no more fucking around. we have very little room for error, which makes these and I mentioned the base running gaffes, like Conforto not running with 2 outs on the hit on the ball, the gap. And what would be I think it's the tying run or the go-ahead run. Holy shit, man. If he gets thrown out, the New York media, that's never forget. Just we will never forget that. And then it goes against, what all the pro Conforto guys out there. So, you want to talk about we'll talk about that last. So, speaking of Wilson Ramos, he's hitting 129 with runners in scoring position. Just an absolutely brutal season. At least, when he was on point last year, he was driving the ball the opposite way a lot, but he's trying to pull sinkers in crucial situations, and he's getting burnt by it. So, and this is where I think Brody and the Wilpons have kind of fucked over hopefully the future GM and Steve Cohen, in that I don't see any reason I don't see why they should bring back Wilson Ramos. And then they end up bringing in Robinson Chirinos, and it's like both those dudes will require something like a $2 million buyout each. So great. I mean, I know Cohen can afford it, but it's just like, I never feel good about that. I know it's not my money, but it feels like my money. Mets are hitting, have a slash line of 315, 371, and 532 in the month of September, and we were 6-7. So that was as of yesterday. I think we're now 7-7 this month, but still, slash line like that, dude, we should be not losing a lot of games. But it comes back to the pitching and lack of clutch hitting and base running errors. Just too many mistakes right now. Mets versus left-handed starters this year, 6-13. Mets versus right-handed starters this year, 15-13. So we definitely have the left-handed bats to give us a fighting chance against righties. And maybe this is a reason why we brought in Todd Frazier, is because it's another decent right-hand bat to face lefties. And he's done fairly well so far. So maybe that will change. And then my last note here, quick note, is Brandon Nimmo rates as the worst defensive center fielder in baseball. So mea culpa, okay? My apologies, sincerest apologies. I didn't think that he was that bad a center fielder. I thought that we could roll with him, given what he gives us at the plate and on the base paths. And I was wrong. So I don't know what to do with Brandon Nimmo other than push him to left, bring in a center fielder besides Marisnik, who is going to be a clutch hitter who has top 10 runners in scoring position, whoever that is, center fielder. And I think some people are throwing George Springer out there from the Astros. Okay, great. Whoever that center fielder is, he has to be good with runners in scoring position, and he has to be good defensively. Those two things. That's it. That's all. That's all I'm asking for. But damn, chasing Shreve with another strikeout. Yes. All right, so here are 4 player moves on Steve Cohen's to-do list when he becomes Mets owner. This comes to us via SNY. First move is to sign JT Realmuto, which, yeah, everyone's pushing for that. It's all over the place. Seems to be a consensus among Mets fans. He's had back-to-back All-Star seasons. He will be 30 years old, which gives me pause. And he's currently making $10 million in 2019. So people are saying that. I saw one person throw out a number that was like, oh, yeah, give him 6 years, 85 million or something like that. 5 years, 85. Just a really high number for a catcher. And how many more years? I mean, Ramos is 33 going on 34, and I think he's pretty much in the bag. I think he's pretty much donezo. So signing a catcher for I guess the idea, the hope is, and this is where it gets a little cloudy, is he has played first. And there we do have the DH now. I think that's going to continue on. I don't think that's just a 2020 thing. So, but you already have, this is where we get back to that same old broken record discussion about you have too many DHs now. Dom Smith is a first baseman who you really run the risk of losing ball games when you put in left. And then the other option is DH. Robinson Cano is old as balls, so you don't want him really patrolling at second. So you put him at DH. If Alonso is struggling defensively, you have Smith at first, and you have been, so it's like there's only so many DHs you can have on the ball club. So, but what are your other options at catcher? Sometimes you just have to overpay and then front load the contract, and then the last 3 years of the contract there's an easy out. I don't know. It seems like that might be the way to go. Second move is to sign Trevor Bauer. He will be 30, which unlike catchers, I'm not. That's 30 as a pitcher is like 26 as a catcher, I think. 40 is the new 20. That's what I'm hoping. Yeah. Ooh, baby. Oh. So yeah, I'm for it. He does have a very active social media presence. I mean, this is a dude who like chucked the ball over center field, which I thought was a great move because I have impulse control problems and I have emotional problems. So to see a professional ball player like actually act out on the field that way was a relief to me for some reason. But then you think about like, oh, do I want that on my ball club? And will that be a distraction? And, he's like in a fight with Major League Baseball and Rob Manfred in the commissioner's office over getting fined repeatedly for wearing, cleats that are not up to code or whatever. And then apparently like baseball players, pro baseball players are not allowed to do posts of themselves. Like they're not allowed to post videos and pictures of themselves in uniform, I guess, or they'll get fined, which is just, I can't wrap my head around it. So he'll be 30, which I don't mind the age thing. He leads the league in strikeouts and complete games and shutouts and ERA plus, which is ERA adjusted for the ballpark that he pitches in Cincy, which is at 1.7. So it's 1.71 is his ERA, but then you adjust for the ballpark he's playing in and it's even lower. So he's making $17.5 million this year. So I would imagine he's going to ask for more once he hits the market. So it becomes a matter of he's got the talent. He's not over the hill. He's probably got you would hope he's got another 5 years in him. So maybe you sign him for more than 5 years at 20 million a year, 25 million a year. We for sure probably have the money, right? Steve Cohen, open up the wallet, back up the brinks, and sign Trevor Bauer. The only downside is he going to be a distraction? He's now played in Cleveland and Cincinnati, like two smaller markets that don't have the kind of veracity when it comes to the media that New York does. Will he be able? Is he psychologically going to be able to handle that? He's a very intelligent dude. So I think that he will be able to, but it does just, it's a little hesitation there. Cause it's like, if we do sign him and then is he going to lose his shit in a press conference after every poor start? Number 3 is extend Michael Conforto. Yeah. I mean, it's a hashtag on Twitter, so it's gotta happen, right? He's top 10 in batting average, OPS, most major offensive categories. If the Mets had a better record, I think he would be in the running for MVP. That's one of those things where if the Mets can somehow turn this around and go on a fucking run, make the playoffs, go somewhat deep in the playoffs, I think you could definitely consider Conforto as an MVP candidate. The number 4 is an interesting one. Sign Liam Hendricks. I've never heard of this dude in my life, but he was an all-star last season. He'll be 32 in 2021. He leads the league in games finished and saves with a 1.33 ERA in 20 games. And I mean, yeah, I guess we just got to keep throwing as many relievers at this problem as possible until we get it right. But, it doesn't hurt to have, if it doesn't hurt going after a top-notch closer, reliever in the offseason, because it's just insurance. Edwin Diaz is insurance. So if he flips the script and goes back to 2018, Edwin Diaz, just icing on the cake, cherry on top. So I'm not opposed to going after a closer and paying bank for it. So those are the 4 moves. Short list. I don't hate any of those moves, really, considering that money is probably not really an issue anymore. I know that people have said, well, just because he's a Mets fan and just because he has more money than God, that doesn't mean that he's going to be willing to spend a lot of money on players. And I'm thinking to myself, bro, if I had $14 billion and the Mets were my favorite team and I'm the owner, I mean, it's going to be like Leo DiCaprio on, as the Wolf of Wall Street on his yacht, just throwing fucking making it rain on the feds. So that's the Mets. Okay. All right, let's talk Giants. We're going to review the Monday night game against the Steelers, and then we're going to preview this upcoming game against the Bears in week 2. I said last episode that the Giants were going to steal one from the Steelers. I really thought that we had a chance to prove the haters wrong. There were a lot of question marks coming into this game about our defense, our offensive line. 27 of the 53 guys on this roster are new, weren't here last year. How are they going to mesh and gel before week 1 without any kind of preseason, just a training camp and these half-ass scrimmages? You got a new young head coach, new coaches across the board. New offensive line for the most part. A lot of new faces. So how's that going to play out? A lot of people no one had them winning. They were 5.5 point underdogs heading into this. I bet them. And I did not win that bet. You look at the final score. You didn't watch the game Monday night. You wake up on Tuesday. You see 26-16. And you think, this is a blowout. This wasn't close. Oh, and the Giants scored late. So, there was even more of a bigger disparity between the Steelers and Giants. No. And you can tell, like, Herb Street and Fowler, the broadcasting duo on ESPN, they made note of it. This doesn't feel like the same old Giants. Now, a loss is a loss is a loss. It's the same result as we had under Shermer and under McAdoo. So, but it feels like these errors, mistakes, missed opportunities were the culmination of all those new faces, no preseason, new coaching staff, new faces, new players, all that. And I think those are correctable. Those are something that, as everyone said, from Joe Judge on the way down, Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, every single player, Blake Martinez, we're going to watch the tape. We're going to watch the film and we're going to get better. So I feel like these are mistakes and errors that they're going to fix, and they're going to come out a better team throughout the season, as opposed to just constantly throughout the season making those same mistakes and errors and not capitalizing. So I feel better about this loss than I have about previous losses. This wasn't an opening day loss where like it was in 2014 against the Lions, where you say to yourself, we are fucked. We don't look like we're ready to play. We don't like we're going to compete. You don't see that with this opening day loss. So it's a loss. We didn't cover the spread like I'd hoped. But things go our way. 3 or 4 things go our way. We are in the thick of it. We are competing. We have a chance to win the ball game. Let's start with the muffed punt. And this is where I think this team under Joe Judge is different from the teams under Shermer and McAdoo and even Coughlin. Judge has a special teams background, and you can see the difference in what the special teams is doing. And if you have time on your hands, go watch the Joe Judge report where he breaks down one offensive play. I think it was the touchdown from Jones to Slayton. He breaks down a defensive play, big third down stop, and he breaks down a special teams play. And I've never seen anyone break down a special teams play like that before. So it was interesting to hear him talk about it. You can tell that he just knows his shit, and that he's instilled a tremendous amount of knowledge into his players, and they've responded. You know, we were concerned after Cody Core went down, our top gunner, and that didn't seem to be an issue. It seems like we signed Brandon Williams and he stepped up, and you know, Riley Dixon. He's killing it, crushing it. Nate Ebner is doing phenomenally. But the muff punt is just one of the examples of how our special teams has improved. Jabril Peppers returning punts. He almost broke one. If he does break one, he had two people to beat. He had one dude and then the punter. And he could not get past that. The I think it was a long snapper. And I'm sure he's going to catch shit for that. And once they did the film review. But say Peppers breaks that. I mean, he had a bunch of good returns. If he breaks that, that changes the game. The muff punt, getting the ball on the fucking 3-yard line and not scoring a touchdown. That's where it's just inexcusable in my mind. Good teams take advantage of that and they put 6 on the board. You can't come away from that with a field goal. And I wasn't crazy about the play calling from Jason Garrett, especially in that goal line situation. I think, you know, they didn't really, the question was asked about Evan Engram. Like, was it miscommunication? Whose fault was it? Like, it was a bad throw by Jones. Did Evan Engram not get off his block? Evan Engram had an atrocious game, just all around bad game. You looking at him and he just didn't seem like he was in it mentally. He just didn't seem like he was all there. You know, he had a big drop on the first series that caused the punt. And then there's that missed opportunity where that could have been 6 if he just able to get the separation, get off, you know, the defensive end earlier, so Jones can hit him. And yeah, so I mean, that's one of my top pet peeves is when you get a turnover in enemy territory, go for the fucking jugular, go for the touchdown right away. No messing around. And it pains me. And I know they want to emphasize the ground game. I know that's a major top priority for them, is that we're going to ground and pound. We're going to get back to running the football, smash them with football. And they gave Saquon a bunch of opportunities, 15 carries. So they didn't abandon the run that soon. I thought, they probably should have abandoned the run a little bit earlier, or at least passed more to set up the run, which ended up working in the second half. You saw it on that fucking long ass drive. Saquon had a lot of, I think, 5 consecutive positive yard runs for good gains, but that was set up by the passing game and being able to wear down the defense through the pass. And then that weakens them on the front. And then you can push the ball forward on the ground. But muff punt, huge momentum shift, big time chance to go up by 6 or 7 and put the big, the favorites on the ropes, and you run the ball up the gut. It's just like, man, Jason, that's what you had up your sleeve. I would have play action and go for the jugular. Go for the kill right away. First down. Don't even mess around. And I know Judge said in the post-game press conference, or one of the post-game pressers, after he had time to review the film, that he was asked, like, did you ever think about going for it down there, 4th and goal on the 3? And he said, I just needed points on the board. I couldn't come away with that, giving the other team, giving them the opportunity to, go ahead and not get points. And I'm thinking to myself, I get it. I understand the philosophy, but man, week 1, it's like basically the first series. The other team, the Big Ben hasn't gotten the ball yet. Would be a huge boost, confidence boost for the team, momentum-wise, everything, the juju, the mojo, if you can put the ball in the end zone. And even if you don't get it, they start their first opening series of the fucking season on their 3. And seeing how the defense came out on the actual first series, 3 and out, if they get a 3 and out on the from the 3 or even from the 10 and Pittsburgh's 3 or the 10, a 3 and out, and you get Peppers who turned out to be like, a godsend when it comes to the punt return game. You're right back in Steelers territory, and you could probably end up with a 3 anyway. So I disagreed with the call. I would have gone for it, but who am I? So the muff punt, that's 6. So that's a 3 to 4 points. That could have been a 3 to 4 point swing. I thought, Daniel Jones had 2 to 3 big mistakes that really cost us. It was and I don't know that you really can blame him for the first interception when TJ Watt just like comes out of nowhere and like just a great play by a great player and reads Daniel Jones and is able to come off his block, stop the rush, and just jump and pick the ball up. I mean, not a lot of defensive linemen or linebackers can do that. So I don't put that on Daniel. The other interception was just a backbreaker. And that would, in my mind, that was what essentially ended the game for us. If I'm being honest. The interception to TJ Watt really sucked because that was on our side of the 50. And, it was at the 35. So already they're in field goal position. And, I don't think our defense responded well to that, being put on the spot and having to come up big. And, I think that was the drive where Logan Ryan just decided to abandon his post at the safety position and come up on a running back that already had a linebacker on him. And we got burned by, I think it was Eric Ebron on that deep crosser with Peppers trying to cover him one-on-one. Would have been nice to have Logan Ryan over the top or on the other side, and I think that was a major emphasis for when Judge broke down that third down play where we get out and we get off the field. You have a guy on one hip and then you have another guy on the other hip to take that away. And that's what should have happened on that big completion to Ebron, which eventually led to a touchdown for Pittsburgh. But the other interception, I don't think I've ever been more deflated or demoralized. It's tough to think of such a positive drive that ends so horribly in such tragic fashion. I mean, I must have blacked out because I was like, I wasn't even considering that this was the 19th play of the drive. I just wasn't. I was just like I just thought this is an incredible drive. This is a drive for the history books. I wasn't even counting the plays. I didn't even realize it was the 19th play. All I know is that, and I tweeted it out. I was very exhilarated by Daniel Jones on this drive. This was like a coming of age. Daniel Jones is taking a step to the next level type of drive. Daniel Jones, offensive MVP, player of the year, MVP, like all those things are running through my head because this Pittsburgh Steelers defense is fucking tough. I mean, there was 15 carries from Saquon and he's hitting the backfield like 10 of those times, 12 of those times. I mean, there's just no running room. And I will say this about the offensive line. I was, as much as they sucked in the run, I'm encouraged by their pass protection. The fact that they were able to give Daniel a lot of time on a lot of the passing attempts was great. Now, that being said, if Eli's back there, I think, I put the over under at 4 sacks. I think they had 2 or 3 sacks. But Daniel does a great job of getting away from the rush and picking up, not only getting away from the rush, but picking up huge chunks of yards and first downs, especially on third down. So people forget that, Eli was never like that. So if we're making comparisons saying Daniel Jones is Eli Manning clone, you're wrong, son, because dude's got legs and he can motor and make some positive plays scrambling. So encouraged by the pass protection. I mean, the rushing attack stunk, but then it picked up a little bit in the second half. So that was a drive where it just seemed like we're picking up crucial third down after crucial third down. That fourth down play, I think it was like 4th and 1, where it looked like he's got no options. He's basically like running for his life, and he throws it all the way back to Saquon, who barely gets it. I mean, it was a drive that I thought was going to be like, we've arrived. The New York Giants have arrived, and it's this drive that is our calling card for the rest of the league. And then they boot him left. And Saquon's kind of covered, and there's all kinds of Steelers in the end zone. I think maybe it's Slayton in the back of the end zone, and then you have Caden Smith, who's kind of getting open in the middle. He's just hanging out. He's not going with Daniel. He's just plopping down. And I thought Daniel was going to see him turn and fire to Caden Smith for the touchdown, but I didn't realize Bud Dupree is just like a superhero. Like he has a cape and powers. I didn't realize that Bud Dupree was that, exceptional. And it was a wake-up call for me, for sure, because he just was on Daniel Jones. By the time he had his arm up, he hits his arm, and then it pops up. And as soon as it pops up in the air, you're like, that's the end of the ball game. And sure enough, Cam Hayward, a fucking defensive lineman, is able to come down with it. But in one of the post-game interviews, Jones, I don't know if it was probably not right after the game, but maybe another one, he said that he was trying to throw it away out of the end zone. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, you're outside the tackle box. Just get it near the line of scrimmage. It doesn't have to be through the end zone. Throw it to the sideline. Just get rid of it. Ditch it. So Daniel still has that problem. But man, so that's another 6 points. So you're looking at 3, 4 plus 6. You're looking at 9 to 10 points. How much did we lose by? 10 points. Just little plays here and there that make all the difference in the world and could turn a 10-point deficit into a tie ball game or even a win. So, yeah, turnovers are still an issue for Jones, but at least it's not fumbles. He did technically have the one fumble that wasn't called that, is Judge supposed to try and overturn that because then Gates recovers it in the end zone? I don't know that anyone really asked Judge about that or that he even answered it. He might have danced around it, but it's one of those things where not sensing the pressure and always seeming to get hit right in the middle of throwing. But there was another instance where, so that's not technically a fumble, even though it was. And, especially in the red zone, it's like you cannot turn the ball over in the red zone. I mean, that interception in the red zone was the first one you've probably seen a million times. First interception in the red zone since his sophomore year at Duke. So he's not prone to turning the ball over in the red zone. And maybe he just got out of the system, He's got to cleanse the palate a little bit, detox. And then he has the fumble in the 3, and it's like, oh, Jesus, like we can't have that in the red zone. Every red zone opportunity has to be, we have to get points and points that result in touchdowns. No more of this field goal bullshit. I think the Steelers were 3 for 4 in the red zone. Giants were 1 for 3. For 3 for 3? For 2 for 3? Different ball game. So it's it's tough. But there wasn't, I think Jones has still improved significantly. There was another play where he's running and he gets hit, and I think old him last year, 2019, Daniel Jones probably fumbles the ball. But this time he had 2 hands of the ball. He doesn't fumble the ball. So I think that's a great example of how he's progressed and he's evolved, and you can see he's consciously making the effort to be better. The Steelers touchdown there was 1:32 left on the clock when they get the ball in the first half, and they go down and score a touchdown. Just can't have it, You can't have it. That was just a real backbreaker. Because we were up 10-9. Steelers kicker missed the extra point on the previous touchdown. So we're up 10-9. We give them the ball back 132, and then the defense just has to make a stop, you know? And instead, we go into the locker room 16-10, and the Steelers get the ball in the second half. Little things, man. Little things. Benny Snell, James Conner, he goes down with injury. You figure, oh, great. Their number one running back is down. So maybe we'll be able to capitalize on that. Nope. Benny Snell. I didn't even realize that he rushed for this much. 19 carries for 113 yards. He averaged almost 6 yards a carry. How did that happen? I don't remember that at all. I thought we did pretty well against the run. This is pretty sad. Big Ben had more rushing yards than Saquon. Saquon had 6 yards, and Big Ben had 9 yards carrying. Which I thought we were going to steal one because I know I thought Big Ben was going to be rusty. I really did think that he was going to come. He had so much time off. He's older now, and I heard all this hype about him. Everyone's so excited to see him back and all this nonsense. And I really thought that he was going to come out and be rusty. And he pretty much was rusty for most of the first half. We were able to get to him. He, the pressure we were putting on him, he was inaccurate with his throws because of the pressure. We had pretty much two coverage sacks, if I'm not mistaken, where he just refused to get rid of the ball. And, he does that. He holds on the ball because he feels like he can make a play. And he ends up throwing for 3 touchdowns. And averaging more than 10 yards of completion. But the Benny Snell rushing for 113 on 19 is baffling to me because it didn't feel like we were getting gashed or gouged in the run game. I felt like we held our own, but Juju had himself a night, 6 catches, 69 yards, 2 touchdowns, caught every single one of his targets. The one that really bothered me was the touchdown against Bradbury towards the end. That one really hit home for me because I just, that you have issues at the other corner positions. That Darnay Holmes is still kind of a project. He's going to get beat here and there. Ballantyne is not the answer at the second cornerback position. Isaac Yiadom, is so new to everything that he got beat for, I think it was when we brought the house on the touchdown from Roethlisberger to Washington, where he just floated it. Big Ben just basically backpedaled and just floated it because he knew that there's just Yiadom had no help and he got beat. But it stunk seeing Juju catch that on Bradbury because you have to feel like at least Bradbury is going to be the guy that they avoid and that he's not going to give up touchdowns. And maybe he'll give up some passes, rinky-dink passes here and there that won't be that won't really hurt the ball club. He's at least not going to give up touchdowns, and he gives up a touchdown. You're like, ah. And you watch it, and the commentary was basically saying, the Giants were getting killed on rub routes and crossing routes yet again. It's one of those things where I feel like maybe that's we can rectify that easily. It's not something that is going to be I hopefully not kill us all year, but it's one of those things where it's like, hey, we need to communicate better on these rub routes. And if we're going to play a lot of man coverage because that's our strength, but at the same time, this is going to happen. They're going to rub the fuck out of us. So how do we defend against that? And that means not lining up at the same depth, staggering our depths, etc. But I don't think that was Bradbury's fault. But I will say, I remember seeing highlights of Bradbury when we signed him and thinking, wow, this dude, he allows the receiver to, he's tight in coverage. He does not present a huge window for the quarterback to land the ball or hit the target. But when the receiver does get his hands on the ball, Bradbury is like fucking on point with poking that shit out of the receiver's hands. Just like I poked the headphone jack out of the microphone just now. That's Bradbury on a receiver. Deontay Johnson, he's the one that muffed the punt. He had 10 targets, 6 catches, 57 yards. Chase Claypool, 2 targets, 2 catches. He had that big catch down the right sideline, which I'm sorry, that was definitely a fucking push off. He definitely extended the arms. I mean, it's a great catch. I'm not taking that away from him, but like he definitely extended the arms. It should have been OPI, and of course, it led to points for Pittsburgh. So, there were a couple bad calls. I mean, they missed an offensive pass interference when the Giants were going from right to left when Jones threw to Engram. I mean, he had a dude draped all over him. They didn't call it, but then I guess the makeup call would have been the drive that we scored on when Jones throws the dime to Slayton for the touchdown. You know, that preceding that was a 3rd down where they called pass interference on the defender and was like, that is not, no, I disagree. So uneven refereeing, but I guess it all ends up being even. James Washington, of course, 2 catches, a touchdown on 3 targets. So Jones, 26 of 41, 279, 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. He tied Kerry Collins for the second most consecutive games with 20-plus yard pass completions in Giants history. That's 9 consecutive games with completions of 20 or more yards. He also surpassed Eli Manning for the second most consecutive games with pass and touchdown in Giants history at 12 consecutive games. So I don't understand how people are doubting this dude. He's the real deal. He really is. I've seen a lot of Giants quarterbacks in my time. And I mean, I don't want to say he's better than Eli just yet because Eli had a long ass career with a lot of accolades and a lot of high pressure situations where he was clutch. But I remember seeing Eli play when he was 24, 25, when he first started and first got in some games, and he didn't look like this. So, got good vibes about Daniel Jones. This is from Talking Football, which is a John Boy Media joint. 4 quarterbacks had a drop percentage of more than 10% week 1. Here's their completion percentage and how they would change when you account for those drops. Deshaun Washington had a 62.5% completion percentage. It would have been 75%. Matt Stafford had a 57.1% completion percentage. It should have been 69. Nice. Jared Goff had a 64.5% completion. Should have been 74.1. Daniel Jones had a 63.4% completion rate. Should have been 73.1%. 3 of those 4 quarterbacks lost. 2 of them should have won. So, I mean, Texans got blown out. Lions, we'll get to it, but they should have won. Jared Goff actually did win. And I guess if you're a Cowboys fan, you might say, well, they should have lost because of that bullshit pass interference call. I get it. But that's the kind of company that Jones is in, and that's where our receivers really need to get better, particularly Evan Engram. We'll get to those stats right now. What? Or a little bit. But we'll continue our pride parade for Daniel Jones. This is from Pro Football Focus. The lowest rate of negatively graded pass plays in week 1. The lowest rate of negatively graded pass plays, which, you know, it's Pro Football Focus. Who knows what kind of troll or monster they have grading these plays. No offense. Number 1 was Jared Goff. So Goff looks like he's turned, I guess he's back to being a decent quarterback. Number 2 is Russell Wilson. Number 3 is Gardner Minshew. Number 4, Daniel Jones. So, yeah, I mean, I can count on one hand, half of one hand, the number of negative pass plays that he had. I mean, he has the 2 picks. I don't know that you put the one pick on him, like I said, but he's making some pretty good throws. This is also from PFF. Daniel Jones was the highest graded player on the offense last night, the 82.1 grade overall, best of his career so far. Against one of the best, I mean, this defense, and I know the Steelers didn't make the playoffs last year. That's mostly because Big Ben was hurt. This defense, I mean, most turnovers in the league last year. I think they led the league in sacks, maybe. I mean, ferocious defense. And the fact that he was able to withstand that, the pressure, escape it, make incredibly accurate throws. They don't call him Danny Dimes for nothing. And to lead that team on that fucking 19-play drive, whew, it's just you gotta know when to hold them. That speaking of the 19-play drive in the third quarter, it was the third drive by any team since 1999 to be 19-plus plays and end in a turnover. Oh. I would have thought for sure that was like a record. I've never even thought. I didn't even think that any other team has ever run 19-play drive before. So we can talk about the offensive line. I mean, conflicting. Like during the game on Twitter, I was getting all kinds of conflicting messaging from experts and non-experts and fans and whatnot that like this person's playing like shit. And then that same person is playing out of their mind. It's like, can we get on the same page here? People were knocking Andrew Thomas, but I mean, especially on that touchdown throw from Jones to Slayton, like he had Dupree perfectly locked up. No issues there. Huge bases loaded out for the Mets. So I thought he looked really good. You know, there was that one play where they run to the right. They were outnumbered in the box. He decided to push down. Bud Dupree comes off the edge untouched and tackles Saquon. Is that his fault? Or should, this is where Daniel Jones still needs to improve, is recognizing and realizing, hey, they've got fucking 9 dudes in the box. Let's audible to play action or something. Let's kill this run to the right and let's take advantage of it. But it comes with time, So Andrew Thomas impresses in his debut against one of the best defensive lines in the NFL and was the Giants' highest graded offensive lineman on Monday night. He graded right in the same cluster as fellow rookies Jedrick Wills and Tristan Wirfs, which they didn't give us a number, but it's good to see that he's at least keeping pace with the other people that we were considering. Running the ball, So going back to like the offensive line, Will Hernandez got crucified, and then I'm hearing from like Talking Giants, Bobby Skinner, Justin Pennick, that like, no, I don't know what people are looking at. He did a fine job. Nick Gates, Cam Fleming, I would say Cam Fleming had a really bad game. I think we can all agree on that. And there are some people saying that Kevin Zeitler has taken a big step back. So the right side of the line seems to be the problem, where it's like, I thought for sure that Zeitler would continue to be, operating at a very high level. So that's a bummer to hear. Who knows? Maybe it's just communication issues between Zeitler and Fleming. They haven't played a lot together. Some people are suggesting, okay, do we move Gates to right tackle? Do you put Zeitler at center? Can he play center? And then you put Shane Lemieux at right guard? I don't know. I don't know that you want to blow it up that quick. I mean, it was the Steelers. They are the best defense in the league. But yeah, so the running game, that was tough to watch, especially in the first half. But the Giants rushed for -3 yards in the first half, the fewest in the first half since week 13 of 2002. Saquon Barkley rushed for -3 yards in the first half, the fewest by any running back with 9+ carries in a single half since Rudy Johnson in 2007. And I remember us being so excited about what Jason Garrett had planned for the running game. You know, he had Sean O'Hara talking about it, getting excited about it, breaking it down, what was going to happen, there's a lot of movement and there's a lot of action going on, you know, and that the offensive line, these plays are going to allow the offensive line to be aggressive and to run downhill. And it just seemed like it caused more bad than good. But the passing game, oh shit. Yes. Home run, Brandon Nimmo, and he is absolutely sprinting around the bases with a gigantic smile on his face. Fuck yeah. Top of the ninth, Mets up 7-6. Maybe we got something going, folks. Okay, we're talking Giants here. The passing game looked good. There was only one downfall to that, and I've mentioned it plenty of times already, but we'll mention it again. Evan Engram. Evan Engram had 7 targets and 2 catches for 9 yards. Yo. Oh, man. That just can't happen. Big drop on that first drive that led to a punt. Not getting separation near the goal line when we recovered the muff punt. You know, this was a year that we were all hoping that I think the team and the organization showed faith in him by giving him the 5th-year option. I think this is the make or break year for him. And this is like what we can expect from him, you can probably expect him to be on the trading block come November. When we're already talking about trading him, you know, that's the Clem from Barstool put it out there. He suggested, because Allen Robinson, Bears wide receiver, is now requesting a trade, even though we'll get to him in a second. Like, his numbers were not, like, I don't know why he's requesting a trade, but would you trade Evan Engram for Allen Robinson straight up? And the answer is yeah. In my mind, yeah. It's one thing or another with Engram. The lack of consistency is tough. There were a bunch of the day after, people were citing this one video of Engram in training camp, just one-on-one blocking drills and just getting smoked, just getting manhandled by Lorenzo Carter or Shane Ximenez. The dude is not a hand in the ground next to the tackle tight end. He's not even, I don't think he's a tight end. Spoiler alert. I think he's a fucking wide receiver. And I think, looking at what the Giants lined up, why would you have Caden Smith on the left, Engram on the right, with Tololo as like the motion guy and as the tight end motion? If anything, Tololo and Smith are your bookends at tight end, and you split out Evan Engram. When you come into the ball, when you put those 3 into the ball game, that should not be a bunch heavy formation. At most, it's 2 tight ends with Engram split. That's how you run that offense. Weird that you would try and put these heavy, like, I understand smash mouth football, ground pound. I get it. You want to do that. But I don't know that you do that against one of the best defensive front lines in the NFL. I think you do that against the super weak rush defenses and have at it. I'm all for that. But I don't know that you can do that against the Steelers defense when they're so good up front and they have 8 or 9 in the box. Like, that seems pretty obvious to me. Once you see that, you audible to a spread formation and run it, or you audible to play action from the heavy, boot, boom. Give the Jones the option to run. It's so simple, isn't it? But Slayton had himself a day. 6 catches, 102 yards, 2 touchdowns on 9 targets. His 10 receiving touchdowns since week 5 of 2019 are the most in the NFL in that span. I have him on my fantasy team. No big deal. Humble brag. And I think a lot of people have criticized the Giants for not having a number 1. I think Slayton's the number 1. I think maybe Shep and Tate battle for number 2, but considering how Tate is kind of MIA most of the time, I think Shep is your number 2, and then you have Golden Tate as your 3, which is pretty goddamn impressive. So Barkley, also had 6 catches for 60 yards on 9 targets. Would like to see, I do appreciate how they are getting him more involved in the passing game, where it's not just these dump offs or whatever. Like they're getting a little more creative with him in the passing game, which I like a lot. Splitting him out, always nice. Getting him one-on-one. I mean, that one screen pass where we fake to the left, we come back to the right. He picks up 38 yards when he should have picked up like 20 yards because he jukes, he hurdles. The hurdling is becoming I'm getting a little worried about the hurdling. He might be addicted to hurdling. But so far it's paid off. And it's just, he only had that one big play, but damn, it was exciting. Dom Smith, get out. Dom Smith, get out. Oh, off the wall. Get on your horse. Go for 3. Fuck yeah. Insurance run. Love it. So I do appreciate Garrett getting Barkley involved in the passing game, where it's not just him in the backfield. It's not just, I do like that. I think they could still do even more. And there's, Giants fans are Giants fans. We're still going to criticize when there's a loss. But saying we're not using him the right way, I agree with that in the running game. But I think, on the passing game, we're on the right path. Shep had 6 catches for 47 yards on 6 targets. I would have liked to see a little bit more yardage out of him. But he had a couple clutch catches, especially on that last touchdown drive. CJ Board had 2 catches for 17 yards on 2 targets. Caden Smith, 2 catches, 17 yards, 2 targets. I believe that unless I'm incredibly wrong, as the season progresses, you're going to see more targets go away from Evan Engram and towards Caden Smith. 2 targets is just far too few. You got to get Caden Smith the ball. I mean, he had that one catch down the left sideline where I tweeted it out, he looks Shockey-esque, catching the ball and just bowling over people and having a god grand all the time. Wayne Gallman had 1 catch for 14 yards. Levine Tololololo with a huge catch for 13 yards. Was that another 4th down or was that a 3rd down conversion? I don't know what it was, but it was a sight for sore eyes. I think he's another guy, if Engram, I think as the season progresses, you're going to see more of Smith and Toilolo than you are Engram. They can't put Engram with his hand down next to the tackle. They cannot do it anymore. They have to come to Jesus moment and say, hey, we get it, man. You are not the tight end we thought you were. You are a wide receiver, a big wide receiver, and that's what we got to do from now on. Just do it. Because corner's not going to be able to match up on him. We keep hearing about how he's a mismatch. He's quicker than linebackers, and he's bigger than corners. So let's get him out on corners and just play post-up basketball. 5 yards stop, and then you can out-muscle the corner and probably shake him, get another yard or 2. That's 6 or 7 yards of fucking catch. Let's not complicate things. Let's not overthink it. But yeah, Engram, 7 targets, 2 catches, 9 yards. So that's how we did in the passing game. Let's turn to the defense. Blake Martinez is good, if not better than advertised. A lot of people were saying he was slow, but he's a tackling machine. He is a tackling machine. Dude is not slow in my estimation. I saw a couple plays where I know any other linebacker that we've had on the roster would not make the play. He's quick to diagnose. He's quick to the ball, and he doesn't miss tackles. I'm so happy we have him on the team. He just seems like, and he brings a level of fire and enthusiasm. He makes a play and he's like, let's go. Like he gets and it's a matter of time for it to be infectious. I think that's going to catch on with the rest of the team. So he had 8 solo tackles, 4 assists, 1 tackle for loss. I think there might have been a screenplay where he's able to come up and if he doesn't make the tackle, that goes for a big gain. He was the highest graded Giants player in week 1, overall grade of 83.9, which is the 7th best among off-ball linebackers. And his tackles was tied for the most of all linebackers in week 1. So I'm very happy with Blake Martinez. And Too early to say Pro Bowl? I don't know. But we've upgraded the linebacker position. We've upgraded at one of the cornerback positions. Once Logan Ryan and Isaac Yiadom have more time in the system, I mean, literally, Logan Ryan, as soon as he was signed, was like, give me the playbook. Give me an iPad for the playbook, and studied the playbook for 20 hours. Can you imagine if he had been around since July or like before? You know, I said in a previous episode, it's going to be 4 or 5 weeks for this team to get where they need to be because they didn't have the preseason and because they have so many new faces. So it's going to be touch and go for the first 4 or 5 weeks. But man, week 5, week 6, I have visions of grandeur, glory coming our way, because if that unit can stay healthy, both on the offensive and defensive sides of the ball, we're going to compete. I'm not guaranteeing wins, but more likely we'll get some wins. Go on a run. Leonard Williams had a good game. I mean, great game is pushing it, but he was, oh shit, Robinson Cano just blasted the ball into the porch. Nice. Okay. I like padding the lead. That's good. So yeah, Lenny Williams, Leo, as Snacks calls him, 4 solos, 1 assist, 1 sack, and 2 tackles for losses. I mean, he didn't have a sack all of last year, so he's already off to a good start. I think Justin Pennick from Talking Football said he's on pace for 16 sacks this season, which would be phenomenal. Obviously the Steelers' O-line was a little banged up, and I think they ended up losing. They actually lost a guy in the game, which didn't come back to hurt them that much. But, the 2 tackles for loss is good to see. And, the pressure that he got was not like the pressure last year, if that makes any sense. He's pushing. And the one defensive play that Joe Judge diagnosed and broke down on YouTube was, I guess, on the 3rd down when they get off the field, they had a stunt. So Leonard Williams basically pushes right and takes out like 2 dudes and just pushes them, gets them right on their heels and off kilter. And then Blake Martinez loops around to the left and gets in Big Ben's face to cause him to throw awry, off kilter. So more of that, I think I feel better about this defense than I have in a long time. Can you imagine what they'll look like when they're able to get on the same page and actually fully understand and digest and diagnose everything that's going on? What kind of squad that's going to be? Case in point, the Giants were 9th in pressure percentage at 25.7% in week 1, while being 21st in blitz rate. So that's a really great sign. The fact that we don't need to blitz to get pressure is huge, because you can see what happens when we do go, all out blitz like we did on the 1 touchdown from Ben to Washington, where Yiadom gets beat. The ability to have your 4 down guys, your 3 down guys get that kind of pressure, and you drop guys in coverage, that's gonna result in a lot of incompletions or coverage sacks. So very good to see. We already went over that bullshit. So that's the game. That was the game. That was it. 3 or 4 things that went down that I didn't even mention the fumble. I think it was, who was it? Benny Snell running down. Bradbury comes from behind and pokes it out. There were fucking like 6 Giants around the ball, and Juju Smith-Schuster ends up on it. If we recover that ball, where are we looking at a win? Handful of things go down that if the ball bounces differently, we make a game out of it. And we even made a game. I mean, say what you will. And so, it was a late touchdown, but we didn't score that touchdown with 0 ticks on the clock. Okay. We did score under 2 minutes. Say we score that touchdown with 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes left in the game. Say we get the 2-point conversion. It's 26-18. We're down by 8. It's a touch and a 2. Are we talking differently? I still think people have more respect for this Giants team than they have for previous teams. You know, the main takeaway was a lot of fight. We didn't give up. We liked the effort. Although I would, the second half was, it felt like the defense kind of hit a wall at some point. And I do think the Steelers took their foot off the pedal, off the gas a little bit because they wanted to kill some time. But all things considered, you got to feel better about the Giants than you did prior to the game. When we're going to get more answers, and I think we're only going to get better. We really are. Daniel Jones has still not played with all his weapons yet. Not to say that Golden Tate was going to make that much of a difference, but maybe he breaks one for a touchdown, and we're looking at 26-23 with 2 to go. I don't know. Yeah, so that was the Monday night game. I guess one of the major storylines this week is that the Giants are cutting Alex Bachman, who looked good and from the practice squad. He looked good in training camp. And that's because they're going to bring back Derek Dillon, who was quote unquote like waived or released because of paternity leave. He just had a child. So they did it, but maybe they placed him on IR. So whatever they did, it was like basically saving him a roster spot. So good on the Giants for making that happen. Sucks for Alex Bachman, but hopefully he ends up somewhere where he'll be utilized because he did make a favorable impression with a lot of people during a short time here. So looking ahead to week 2 against the Bears, who should be 0-1. Let me get that out there right now. Bears were down 23-6 towards the end of the third quarter. Lions became the 4th team since 2007 to lose a game when up by more than 17 points or more entering the fourth quarter. Teams have been 781-3 in that span. Holy shit. Wow. Only Detroit, right? I'm sure the Giants are the other teams that are on that short list as well. A lot of talk about Mitch Trubisky. He played well enough to beat out Nick Foles, who the Bears brought in for a lot of cash. And he rewarded the faithful by throwing for 3 touchdowns, although they were, it all came very late in the game. Bears were 19% on third downs, so not very efficient on third downs. And we talked about Allen Robinson. He requesting a trade, and a lot of people saying that the Giants should be a landing spot for him. It's not like he was not given enough attention or love or affection in this game. 9 targets, 5 completions for 74 yards, but it's not nothing to sneeze at, my man. So interesting that he's demanding a trade. Apparently he's changed up all his socials to remove any mention of the Bears and any photos of him in a Bears uniform. So looks like he's probably on the outs. What can the Giants offer him besides Evan Engram? I don't know. And do you want that on your ball club? That's the other thing. I've always wondered, there's been such a push for clubhouse chemistry and having that kind of positive attitude in the locker room and making sure that everyone's on, all for one for all. How does that work when there's a guy that's demanding a trade from a team? I know that, and that's kind of why I ruled out Jacksonville in my survivor pool, when I picked the Colts multiple times over, because it was so many goddamn players from the Jags have worn it out. Jalen Ramsey, Leonard Fournette, then you have, I think, Malik Jackson or someone else, Yannick Ngakoue wanted out and got out. So you have Fournette, Ramsey, all those guys wanted out and got out and talk shit about the organization afterwards. And yet the Jags are 1-0. So it's maybe that was a good thing for Jacksonville. Duval. So do we want to bring in a guy who is bailing on his team so early in the season after week 1? That's my 2 cents. Now, that said, I mean, he's a tremendous talent, and I kind of would love to have him on the ball club just for his talent alone. And he gives you another dimension to the team that we just don't have at this point. And at this point, I think I'm okay with getting rid of Engram. What a difference a year makes. After that Redskins win last year at home, I was like, Evan Engram's the man. We should lock him up for the next 10 years. Generational talent, blah, blah. It's just like, unless they open their eyes and wake up and learn how to use him properly, you might, and that's what will ultimately kill us and kill me in the process is we trade him and an OC realizes, oh, no one knows how to use you and this is how you use you. And then he goes off and becomes a Hall of Famer. Ugh. The Lions had multiple opportunities to win this game. Missed field goal and an interception in the fourth. And, DeAndre Swift just drops the ball on the game winner. And, I guess I'm a bit of a sadomasochist, whatever. But like, I don't usually like watching people in pain, like get hit or fall or break, I just can't watch that shit. But there's something about watching people react, like fans react to either game winners, like big good moments or big bad moments. And watching the Detroit Lions fans react because they initially go nuts, like, yeah. And then like, there's the one guy who's like, no, and points to the screen and everyone looks and is just like devastated. I guess, I don't know. I'm sorry to any Lions fans because it's tough. I've said it multiple times, like whenever if the Giants are not part of the equation, then I'm pulling for the likes of the Lions. It used to be the Browns, but like, fuck the Browns after everything they've said about the Giants. And how about OBJ just like loving to get pooped on? How do you get to that point? Is it just like, you've run through too much of everything else and you just like, it's a bucket list thing? I don't know. But, so what should we expect from what's my prediction with the Giants versus the Bears? It's in Chicago. We're like 5.5 point underdogs, which are you saying that the Bears are as good as the Steelers? How does that work? I don't know, but I think I'm going to take the Giants all day on that spread. I really do think that they're going to come out of this with a win. I don't see us going 0-2. We should have won in Chicago last year, and that was when we were not at 100%. And I feel like we have a better defense. We're a little healthier, better coaching staff, better scheme. Hopefully Jason Garrett takes some smelling salts before the game and like understands that you can't just be so predictable and that you have to give Jones the ability to audible out of really bad, pre-snap alignments. And I think we win. I really do. I don't know what Golden Tate's situation is. Jesus Christ, Edwin Diaz. I don't know what Golden Tate's deal is, but I feel confident that we'll come out of this with a win. It's not going to be pretty. I think I said that last week about this week, but I can't see us losing. I think with another week under a belt, with some actual game film and tape to look at as opposed to these bullshit blue-white scrimmages, the coaching staff has a much better understanding of their players' capabilities, where their shortcomings are. And this is a staff that is going to work quickly and efficiently to correct all that. I think Trubisky is going to have a shit game. I think we're going to get a lot of pressure on him. You're going to see a similar third down conversion rate, 19% or fewer from him. So it's really how our offense performs against this defense. And if Khalil Mack is lining up on Cam Fleming, we're in a world of hurt. And I hope Jason Garrett understands that and lends Cam Fleming some help. Not with Evan Engram. I mean, maybe if you want to chip with Engram and he goes out, but I'd rather see Toilolo or Caden Smith, helping out Cam Fleming on the right side if Mack is lined up on that side. And, pass to run. I know they want to run and establish the run. I think it's going to be a situation until the offensive line gets their shit act together that you're going to have to pass to run. But I honestly, truly believe that this offense, that the running game is going to come along. This 15 carries, 6-yard stat line for Saquon is an anomaly. I think you could tell he was super frustrated in the postgame press conference, and he was emotional, and he did a pretty decent job of like containing the emotion and restraining, but you could tell he was pissed and not happy with the way either he played, probably the way he played, probably the way the offensive line played, probably with just everything that went on, feeling like he could have done more. Maybe he wasn't given the right opportunities, what have you. So I think he comes out with a fucking vengeance and balls out. Maybe the Bears compensate for Darius Slayton, and that opens up things for Shep and maybe Tate if he comes back. But yet again, we talked about Yitem and Logan Ryan being very new to everything, and probably that's why they're slow to react or reacting the wrong way. I think the same can be said for guys like CJ Board and Damian Ratley. These are two dudes that weren't with the ball club and are trying to play catch up. So another week of learning, another week of getting better. I know the results look the same, but winnable game against the Steelers, arguably one of the better teams in the AFC if Big Ben stays healthy. Definitely one of the better defenses. And our defense has shown flashes that have gone beyond any flashes I've seen. There have been flashes here and there that I mentioned in 2019, 2018, but for the most part, it was just 50-50, 75-25. This seems like it was more of an 80-20, 90-10. We're still letting down at bad times, but I feel like it's easily adjustable. I don't believe that the Bears have a better defense than the Steelers. So we're going to see more, we didn't punt that much, I don't believe, against the Steelers. So I feel, maybe we're not going to score a lot of touchdowns, but we'll get a lot of field goals. And as long as these drives are ending with field goals and not punts, I have the confidence that our defense will step up and make plays against Mitchell the Bitchel. So that's the Giants. Thanks for tuning in and sticking around. We'll talk to you soon. Adios, muchachos.